The newly implemented excise tax on vehicles may have put our favorite MPVs and SUVs out of reach. But on the flip side, it's turned our attention to a new and blooming category, the B-segment MPV. Now, of all the cars in that class, there's one that's caught our attention ever since it was announced last year, and that is the Mitsubishi Xpander. In this class, it's pretty hard to stand out in a car buyer's mind. What would competitors like the Toyota Rush, Honda Mobilio, Honda BRV, and Suzuki Ertiga? But in Mitsubishi's case, it's practically effortless because of this styling. And that's what we're going to look into next. Like all current Mitsubishis, the Xpander carries over the dynamic shield design language. And it's called that because it's composed of 1, 2, 3, and 4 shields coming together in the center. Now, it looks that way to make the passenger feel safe and protected when inside the car. Now, the other thing new to this car is the fact that this is not the headlight. In fact, the headlight is down here, kind of like a Nissan Juke. And of course, being a GLS Sport trim, that means this car is equipped standard with a body kit. Now, it's not much flair, but it adds just a little bit more sporty character. Now on the side, you got big, boxy, muscular haunches. And then, you've got this character line that starts from the door and goes all the way to the tail light. Higher up, you've got this nice chrome strip that goes all the way to the last window. And of course, in the last window, just like the Montero Sport, it's got a little cut here. Now that's intended to give the roof a floating look. And of course, down at the bottom, you've got 16-inch laser cut wheels riding on Bridgestone Ecopia fuel-saving tires. Behind, Mitsubishi seems to have learned from the Montero Sport. This time, the taillights go upward. No more crying eyes here. And of course, that leads your eyes to the integrated spoiler with a high mount stop lamp. And of course, as we get lower in the body, you notice the reflectors are now in the corners, and there's something inspired by the Lancer Evolution, a center diffuser, and a center mounted fog lamp. So that covers the exterior. So now let's check out the inside. Now once inside, there's a variety of adjustments you can make. So first of all, the steering wheel, it's got tilt and telescopic adjustment. As for the seats, you can slide it forward and backward, adjust the backrest, and there's even a knob here for the cushion seat height. And that makes it easy to see over the relatively high dashboard, even if you're short of stature. Now, towards the center of the dash, you have this very large touchscreen infotainment system. Now, in this GLS Sport trim, it's got navigation fitted as standard. And of course, you've got radio, you've got CD. There's also connectivity for the USB auxiliary cable right here. And of course, Bluetooth connectivity. And if you got one of the newer phones, it even has mirror link, or I think screen mirroring, which I think some models of Android and iOS have. Now, of course, lower in the dashboard, you've got the controls for air conditioning. Just simple manual controls. Got a lot of storage spaces here, a power outlet here, and of course 2 cup holders here. Now if you like to go to a lot of drive-thrus, there's also some pockets here in the door and on the other door for large drinks and whatever materials. Now on this side of the dashboard, you got a little tray here to store some small items. Then of course you have the massive glove compartment. So let's take a look at the instrument cluster. Now it's dominated by 2 large dials, one for the tachometer, one for the speedometer. And right in between is a multi-info display. Now this display shows you the fuel and temp gauges, what gear you're on, and of course above it, there's the trip information like the odometer and fuel consumption in real time or average. On the steering wheel itself, you got remote controls for the stereo to adjust the volume or change the station or track. And on the other side, you've got cruise control. Now, this is fitted on the higher end models, so you won't find this on the GLX. Now, once you get a hold of the wheel, It's got a very nice contour. It's stitched here, and there's of course a little bit of piano black accent, so it's very nice to hold, which is appropriate because the steering feel is very precise. Now that we've covered the entire front, let's head over to the second row. Over in the second row, you've got a fabric bench seat for 3 people. Now, it also has a folding armrest. You can slide down just by pulling a lever, folding it down like this, or keeping it up to fit 3 people. Now up here, you've got aircon vents for the rear passengers. Just got a simple rotary switch, and it's really more of a blower rather than a dual aircon system. That's good enough. But overall, space is pretty comfortable. I stand at 5'10", and you can see I got more than enough room from the front seat. Now that we've seen the second row, let's check out the third row. To get to the third row, simply flick this switch and fold and tumble the seat forward. Now, I don't recommend this area for adults because, as you can see, it's pretty tight. It only looks like this because I pushed this seat all the way forward. But that said, there's still a few tricks. So, easy flip. Then of course you've got the seatbelt clip to make sure it gets out of the way and no one trips. If you've got kids who are techies, there's a power outlet here for charging, and you've got pockets for drinks and cell phones. Now here at the back, even with the third row seats up, there's still some decent amount of space to use. You've got some deep pockets on either corner, and you've got this little organizer here with a few dividers. It's pretty deep too. Now if you want more space, simply pull this tab and push down the seats. Simple as that. Now you'll notice it's not exactly a flat cargo floor, but this is good enough and it frees up so much more space. If you want the seats up again, simply pull this tab. And you're ready to take 7 passengers all over again. So this Xpander is a unibody construction. So that means it's built on a car platform, which will make it feel and ride like a car rather than an SUV built on a ladder frame like the other MPVs in this class. And that it does. The steering is very precise, very sensitive, and it's also light. Throttle response is very smooth, and of course the ride is very great. So it's super comfortable. The only difference from a regular sedan or a subcompact hatch is that you're just a little bit higher off the road, but not as high as an SUV. So that said, you get a little bit of both worlds. You know, easy to drive, but still a little bit higher off the ground. Now, ride-wise, the Xpander is very comfortable. It soaks up the bumps really well. Now, we're in a really bumpy part of EDSA, but as you can see, I'm still sitting pretty comfortably here. You can barely hear it. There are no thuds. You can even hardly hear the other vehicles around. No horns blaring, no engines revving, barely any of that. So it's very easy to carry a conversation with the family members or friends inside this car. Now, safety-wise, the Xpander is pretty well covered. So naturally, you've got 2 airbags here in front, one for the driver, one for the passenger. There are 3-point safety belts for all of the passengers, even the last 2. And of course, you've got the whole braking suite. So you've got ABS, you've got electronic brake force distribution, you've got hill start assist when you're on an incline, and of course you have stability control. So that pretty much covers all the basics you'd want in a car. So, how about fuel consumption? Well, in the city, this car will do about 8 to 9 kilometers per liter, and that's in heavy traffic. And then once you get to the highway, you can expect it to go up to about 12 to 13. Now for the question that's on everybody's mind. How's the power? Because on paper, 104 PS, 141 Newton meters doesn't seem like a lot. But actually, on the road, it's okay. You have decent usable torque, upwards of 2,000 RPM. Now, of course, in the highway, That's when you'll wish it just had a little bit more, but it's still okay. Of course, you'll be stepping on the throttle a little bit harder. You're gonna hear the engine rev a little bit more, but it's more than enough to get you up to highway speed. Now, of course, when it comes to overtaking, it's not blazingly fast, but it'll get you there if you give it some time. Now that covers everything you need to know about the Mitsubishi Xpander, especially this GLS Sport. Now, of course, it's not exactly the best in ground clearance or the most power, but what this car does excel at is in the comfort itself, how easy it is to drive, and how easy it is to change up the interiors. That said, priced at $1,060,000 plus looks like this, it's a pretty good deal. That's been our review of the Mitsubishi Xpander GLS Sport.